2010 Toyota Corolla starter replacement. Mine would grind sometimes when I start it. Here's the sound. Alright, so anyways, to replace it, I take this engine cover off just because I like to have room. It's not too hard. So I remove my engine cover. Then definitely disconnect the battery. You could disconnect the negative terminal. It's a 10 millimeter. Just loosen it up and maybe wrap a rag around the clamp so it doesn't accidentally bump free and hit the terminal there. Get yourself a 12 millimeter, and we're going to loosen the transmission dipstick tube. There's a 12 millimeter down here on this bracket. It's kind of hard to see. It's there it is right there, but this is like down here. 3-inch extension with a regular 12 millimeter socket, and you'll be able to get to it. And we're going to loosen that so this dipstick becomes movable, and then we'll be able to get our socket down there to remove one of the bolts on the starter. So loosening this and getting this top starter bolt off are probably the most difficult things. And you know, if you have like a long ratchet, that'd be good, but we'll just kind of lift this up. You could pull it out. There's other stuff wrapped on it, so you don't need to take it out of the car. Just all we do is need to move it a little bit so we can have access to the starter bolt right there. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. So to get to that, oh, and here's a quick view of underneath. I'll show you what's going on. There's a bolt under here, and then we got our connector to the starter. So this you can actually just push down and unplug. There's a little button here you push with your thumb and you pull it out. If you have fat fingers like me, it's a little difficult, but you get that connector off, and then there's a little cover right here that you have to lift up, and we need to remove this this wire right here. This is pretty much like the battery power wire. So we're going to get this off right here. It's a 12 millimeter. So I'm going to get a 12 millimeter on my regular ratchet and just get this loose. All right. And then you just take that nut completely off, and then you could remove the wire from the starter. Just remove the nut here. Now we'll remove that wire. So once that's off, we can go ahead and just remove this bottom starter bolt. It's a 14 millimeter, and it's a little tight. You know, we'll go ahead and get this off. I didn't forget about the bolt on top. I did it after I got these off, and this is underneath the car, so I had to have my car lifted up. I'm on actually a rack, so this is the bottom bolt. So I'd recommend getting the top bolt off first. Now, you know, that's what we're back to. So go ahead and get my 3-inch extension with a 14 millimeter socket. And of course I have a long ratchet. And now with that dipstick tube out my way, I have more room to move this ratchet. Also, you can remove this to give you even more room. It's a 10 millimeter here, a 10 millimeter right here, and then just remove this tube right here. So just loosen this one here, this 10 millimeter. Pull this little tube off. You just remove that little clamp, or pull the clamp back, and then you could just remove this thing. Loosen both sides. Be careful, it'll be brittle. Okay, so after that's out the way, you'll have a lot more room to have reach to get this bolt out. Now, once you get it out, the starter is going to fall off. Once you get the second starter bolt off, the whole thing's going to fall off. So that's why I recommend doing the bottom last, so you don't have what I just had, the starter completely falling off. Most of the time it's a core. That means you need to return it to the store that you got it from, and they'll give you some money back. But yeah, that's how it comes off. Here it is. All right, and now I'll show you my new one. My new one's a remanufactured Toyota one. So this is from the Toyota dealer, but it is remanufactured. Most starters are. Here's the part number. You could match it up or tell your person that's the part number. It's just a solid starter here. Since this is factory, I don't need to worry about shim kits or none of that stuff. So Now's a good time to look at your flywheel too. Just give a little glimpse in there, making sure there's no broken teeth on the flywheel. Your starter, you're just going to put right up here and just get it right back how the other one was. I hand threaded my starter bolts. Don't tighten down a starter bolt all the way before you do the other one. Just get them both in, hand threaded. It's kind of a pain because you're up and below the vehicle. And then when you're doing the top one, you could kind of lift this up, the starter, with one hand and then tighten with the other hand. So I would do the top bolt first, tighten down the top one all the way, and then tighten down the bottom one all the way. That'll just make it easier. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten my top one, and then I went below and finished tightening my bottom one. Now once those are tight, we got to get our little wires on. So here was the connector. This will just plug into your new one. And then we have this, your new starter will probably come with a new nut, so you could just undo this nut and then put your battery cable on. Oh, don't forget, plug this connector in. This should go in and clip in and be pretty secure. And then we will put our cable on right here. This is, again, all from the bottom of the car. If you're doing this in the driveway, you need to have your car lifted up. And this part might be a little annoying, but, that's how it's done. Alright, so tighten that down. And once that's pretty snug, all you gotta do is just push this little connector back down. You don't want to do it mega tight because you don't want to risk breaking that nut or stud on the starter. But after that, we're gonna make sure you put your dipstick tube back into place. There should be an O-ring on the bottom, and you just push it back into the hole. It should kind of you should just kind of feel it pop back in there, and then you'll tighten the bracket down. Very important that you don't leave this bracket loose. So put your 12mm bolt back in here and get it tight. And after that, we'll put our air duct thing right here, our air boot, back on. Remember, it's brittle, so just be careful with it. I went ahead and did mine off camera. It's just reversal of how you got it off. We'll put our wire back on. If you have an aftermarket alarm, it might go off on you. But after you get this battery clamp tightened down, you should be good. And it'll sound a little different because it's a brand new starter. But that's how you do it. Thanks for watching.